Who is JJE and why did JJE start?
You're asking me that question?
Yes. Well, they can piggyback off you, but what I want to do is I want people to understand that JJE is the three guys sitting here. I want them to know that it's not some shareholders in another state pointing and puppet masters somewhere else.
Well, I mean, I think we all would agree JJE started to grow it as a corporate company instead of just Palmetto State Armory, since we got into more of the manufacturing side, real estate, because we merged what Julian and I had already accumulated.
Yeah,
so
really, like when you look at it from like a corporate entity.
And it sounded good.
Yeah, it did.
That's right,
and the logo was really cool. We sent it on to it.
That's because we met the guys from KKR at a football game.
That's right, at the Miami game. Yeah, I mean, the logo looked cool because we sent it to a design firm, but when it comes to like a corporate structure, so when Ed and Julian bought in, they had their own business on the side, and it was, very successful real estate portfolio. And then when you looked at, because we had 200 Business Park, we had 211 Business Park, we had several stores. We're like inside of PSA. There's a nice real estate portfolio. So what happened was we got together and we said, well, what if we link all the businesses together? And about that time, we had purchased DC Machine, which was our first new business acquisition. So what we did was we created a holding company at the top, JJ, the three of us, and then we started sliding a lot of the other companies under it. And that way, the profits of different companies could be sent to JJE sort of as a pot to fund other operations. And for us, it just made it easier for us to manage. And it was also at the time the melding of the business that Ed and Julian had together with the business that the three of us had together, kind of created a much bigger entity.
Got it. So JJE stands for Jamin, Julian, and Ed.
It all depends on how you ask, because he'll say it's Julian. But I always say the E's on top.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm the little J, definitely. We have another entity called Rice, Beans, and Potatoes, which is one of our real estate holding companies. And it was designed to be one where people couldn't really track who we were.
Yeah.
But it's become known that Rice, Beans, and Potatoes is the three of us as well.
So you're rice, you're beans, and you're potato?
Yeah.
According to Julian. I'm not sure where he came up with that.
That's to be debated also.
I had somebody call me up and it's someone I knew from years ago, went to church with them like 20 years ago, and they're a real estate agent, and they called up and they said, "Are you rice, beans, and potatoes?" I'm like, yeah, why? They had looked at one of the properties that we owned, and we're trying to see if they could broker it for someone else. And they're like, "Why would you come up with that name?" I like, ask Julian. He comes up with the craziest stuff.
I wanted an LLC that people would think was like a farmer, so they wouldn't bother you.
Yeah, they wouldn't come in and try and throw their weight around and try and do all this stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah, but JJE for us turned into, and the other thing is, with JJE, people think when they see it, because it's got a cool logo and it sounds very official, people think it's some sort of like capital group out of New York City and it's all about turning profits. And I mean, it's really just us, right? And not really just, it is just us. Correct. And we used it to better invest in the companies, but it's all South Carolina money. It's from South Carolina. It's in South Carolina. And it stands for free.
And where is JJE located in South Carolina?
Columbia, South Carolina.
And so then that's like the main hub of everything. It's right around Columbia, right?
And each of us have different responsibilities. Jamin's more operations, facilities, HR, Ed's construction, and problem solving.
Potato moving.
Because we never create any problems to hand over to
Yeah. No, for sure.
And when it comes to so a lot of us wonder why do things turn out so well? Well, Julian is insanely good at negotiating real estate deals. So a lot of what we've done has been purely based on real estate. When you look at, we're right outside of Myrtle Beach right now. The Myrtle Beach store is just an absolutely amazing store, one of the nicest gun stores in the country. Well, Julian's constantly looking at real estate. As soon as it became available out of the McClatchy bankruptcy, Julian locked it up. And then having Ed on board, where Ed will look at something and say, well, the bones look good, let me work my magic. And between the three of us, I mean, it worked out really good, because even JJ headquarters was a building that hadn't been inhabited for almost 20 years. And Ed took that thing. I mean, you look at it now, it's stately. I mean, it's beautiful. It shows really well.
And we're outgrowing that building.
I know, we might need another one soon. But and just the three of us together, like even the ammo plant, you look at that, it's 325,000 square feet. Well, that was a shutdown brake plant. That was it looked like a zombie apocalypse.
Post rapture.
Yeah, like a Terminator.
Machines were left in place. People's soda's still sitting.
But Julian got it for essentially pennies on the dollar. Ed takes the crew in, and now we have an ammo plant. We could, without those different skill sets, we could never get it done.
Yeah, so it kind of goes into the whole bigger picture of like vertical integration, right? Like we're all vertically integrated. That's a big thing. But like as JJE as a whole, like you three individuals are vertically integrated together, right? You know, between the real estate, between the construction, between the gun stuff, right? It all meshes together and it filters down through all of the portfolio that is JJE because you guys all like work together and know how to mesh it together.
Yeah, and it diversifies us even like the real estate values today because of inflation. You know, and the sweat equity in the construction side, you know, it gives us, you know, when we go to a bank or something and say, well, look what we got here, you know. So, I mean, the JJE Capital, it's perception, but it's us, and that's how you grow a company this large to start an ammo plant that's never been started that size.
Yeah, they haven't built an ammo plant like that.
Years.
Yeah, 50 years, and we're doing it. And the other thing is like, so you look at anything in life, you can end up with like a really good marriage or a bad marriage. And it just depends on who you marry and how you conduct yourself with that person. And the thing is, you look at businesses, they fail all the time. One of the things, the keys, I think, secret to our success has really been like who we're, and when you're a business owner, you're married to your partners, right? And so like just having Ed and Julian, I know they're always looking out for me, and hopefully they know I'm always looking out for them. I mean, it's been a fantastic experience. And you look at like recently, there's been some, you know, bigger name companies that have filed for bankruptcy, and you know, some of them like H&R were able to purchase, and a few others. And you wonder, like, why do they fail? And it's poor ownership and it's poor partners. Yeah. And so, like, to me, JJE means, like, this group of people that can work together. And I love being in business with who we're in business with. And to me, it's not just about spreading freedom, but it's the people you work with, too. For sure. The employees, but especially ownership.
Yeah, relationships matter, right?
Yeah, that's right.
For sure. So how many employees are now employed by JJE, like, under the umbrella of JJE?
Currently, we have about 1,950, and going to crest 2,000 next month with an acquisition we've got going on.
That's awesome. That's I didn't know it was that. I thought it was like 1,300. That's bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah, every day I go in and check a board and I see hires and terminations, be it for someone moving or being termed, and I look at it and I was like, ooh, that number's always bigger on the hires than it is on the termination. And each passing week, it just ticks up.
It's a good sign.
But it's a lot of people to be responsible for making good decisions.
Yeah.
And one of the things I do when I drive around the parking lot at Metro, where you have hundreds of cars, can't find a parking space in the front, I usually park way in the back, but I drive around and I look at all these cars, and I remember thinking to myself, these people's Christmases and their kids are based on me making responsible decisions.
Sure.
And it is a gut-wrenching feeling.
But that's a big deal for you guys to feel like that, right? Because, you know, as companies grow and get bigger, they feel like they're like, you know, they get rid of the family mindset. But I really feel like because of how passionate you guys are, it's that same mindset still on a daily basis.
I remember, that's funny you say that, because at 200 Business Park, I remember pulling in, there was like 7 or 8 cars. I remember thinking like, man, these people, I'm responsible for their lives. Yeah. Or if we have someone that we hire that's in a really good position somewhere else, but we want to add them to our team, it's actually kind of scary because you think like, they're, like Julian said, they're Christmas, they're, getting groceries, like everything, like we're responsible for them. So we try and take the hiring very seriously.
So what is the thought and the strategy behind of acquiring new companies to bring onto the JJE portfolio? Like what do you guys look for when a company comes up or in communication? Like what are you guys looking for that fits in with the JJE mindset?
I think we're in a way, we're opportunists.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah. So like I'll give you an example, Prudent Technologies. That was a fantastic acquisition. And, you look at it, a couple things we look at is we can tell why they're in trouble, right? Well, really there's 2 classifications. One is a company that's doing very well that we feel would be a good synergy for us. Another is a company that's doing very poorly, and we can identify why they're doing poorly and plug them into our structure and make them do well. And so, a couple of really good, all of the acquisitions we've done have gone well. Prudent Technologies, you looked at the market had turned on them. They had, they were making all the braces for SB Tactical, and the brace band had come, and you could identify what was wrong. And you know, they do machining and injection molding, and thought, you look at it, you're like, well, we could put our business with dagger frames in there, rock frames, you know, and we could identify how we could take a struggling business and make it successful. And then the other thing is we look at from a supply chain and logistics aspect, and that is like, take for instance the Toolcraft acquisition. You know, when the market goes crazy, it's impossible to find a BCG.
Yep.
And so we've been, you know, we've struggled during several of these runs to be able to have a BCG. And it was, you know, the market was extremely slow. We bought them during the Trump slump. It was extremely slow. We knew we could consolidate our business on them. And it was good for them because, you know, you think about your Toolcraft, you know, they're mainly an OEM supplier. They're still an OEM supplier. And, you know, they during the Trump slumps, they worry, you know, am I going to have any business during the summer times, especially, you know, business is essentially cut off. And when we can plug our business into them, we make them more valuable, make them a better place to work, we make them much more stable. In fact, we just had we took everyone to lunch about a month or two ago for their 5-year anniversary of JJE purchasing them. And, you know, it's great to talk to them because a lot of the same people are still there. Yep. And we've doubled the size of the company. Yep. And so we're looking for businesses that are doing really well, and we want that skill set inside of our company. We look for businesses that are not, but once plugged into our model can thrive. And the other thing we're looking for is talent, yep. Right? So Special Tool Solutions, or STS, out of Jacksonville, Florida, they're just tremendously talented. And what they do is they're over 50% non-firearms. And that's another thing we look at is talent and stability. When we buy a company, we're basically, you know, wedding ourselves to their senior employees. So we're able to vet them, and then we learn a ton from them. And so as a company, you know, people say, how did you get into that?
Yeah, yeah.
Because one of the employees at the companies we acquired said, hey, I have this skill set, or I know how to get this skill set. So the acquisitions to us are about talent, they're about skill sets, and they're about creating stability for the company.
So you get a value creation play. So back to the Toolcraft example. Toolcraft, the BCG market was very cyclical, the firearms industry itself can be cyclical, but they would be up and they'd be hiring, and they'd be down and they'd be riffing, and they'd be up and they'd be high. So by tying into on the staffing and the HR side, they're up, we tie it into us, and then we can grow them as we add machines. So they can get stability for the employee, stability for the company, and stability for us because we guaranteed our own supply. For sure. And that was what brought us to approaching Ray Porter about purchasing Toolcraft. Was we were in a down, but there's always an up. Yep. And we were planning for the future. Yep. And it's value creation oriented. And
a lot of the, you know, the best acquisitions are the ones we didn't do from the standpoint of we have people, you know, begging for us to buy them. Yeah. And we don't, you know, we turn away a lot of people. We go visit, it doesn't work. I feel like the ones we've done have been extremely strategic. We have a tremendous portfolio of companies. Some are very public and some aren't. But we get that base of knowledge from them. And, you know, we regularly, you know, once every other month have a pretty significant company contact us. Would you buy us? But there's certain requirements we have, things we're looking for, and those are the ones we purchase.
Yeah. So during the Remington bankruptcy, you guys went in and put in a bid to try and get the ammo side of things. And what transpired is we actually acquired H&R, DPMS, and AAC. So talk me through that process. What was going on with that?
So our original interest was in the Lone Oak plant in Arkansas, or Remington's ammo plant. That's all we had interest in. Yeah, during, you know, you got to go back to that time frame. That was during the COVID days. And we had, you know, 7 stores and ranges. We needed ammo for test fire. We had, you know, R&D was going on. We're basically, you couldn't get ammo anywhere. And Federal and all these big companies are like retailing it at ridiculous prices off of their website, not shipping to us.
So I'd like to interrupt. I once caught a man stealing 2,000 rounds of 7.62 by 39 out of my garage.
For test fire.
For test fire.
Yeah, I remember
I was trying
that.
to figure out where that was heading.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. Yeah,
and there's still an empty slot there to this day.
I remember
we'll
that.
have to get him some AAC.
Yeah, I got you.
But yeah, so ammo was just crazy tight, and you know, obviously getting ammo from Julian for test fire. My ammo at my house I was taking in, but you couldn't find it anywhere. And so I remember thinking, well, we vertically integrated in the components manufacturing, from barrels to BCGs to uppers, lowers, forgings, slides, barrels, everything. We have not done ammunition, and if we're not careful, we're going to get shut down over this. And of course, you would call up, you name the big, huge ammo company, like, our machine is down. Like, yeah, I get it, you're retailing off your website. And so it was very dangerous for us. So when the Remington Lone Oak plant came available, 1,600 acres, really nice. Well, it was historical. Let's put it that way. I don't know about really nice. Yeah. It was interesting. It needed a lot of work. it needed a lot of work.
Ed was like, oh gosh.
But we put it in a bid, and we got stalking horses. We're very serious about buying it, and of course everybody knows who ended up coming in and working to make sure that we didn't get it. Yep. I don't know if that's they wanted it, but I think they wanted to make sure we didn't get it.
For sure.
And so what we did, we ended up getting a breakup fee, and then we used a significant portion of the breakup fee. There was other companies in there. So once we got into the bankruptcy, it was very long, extended hearings. And in fact, some nights we would stay all night in the office and sleep there.
So this isn't sitting in a courtroom for a bankruptcy?
This was COVID.
This was a Zoom call from hell.
Geez.
And you would look at the screen, there was like 100 people on the Zoom call.
And they'd say, we'll be back in 45 minutes. And so you'd sit there for 3 hours, and then the screen would come on, and we're all scattered around the building, and they'd call everyone in, and they said, this is what we're gonna do here, and we'll be back in 45 minutes. And then there are point in times where we're all sitting around eating donuts at like 2 a.m. And they're like, we're reconvening and it was
like all night thing.
There were several nights where we slept there because we didn't want, if something happened, we didn't want to miss it.
Yeah.
So it was really disastrous. But in that time, we started looking at, they had the bundles of assets. You had like the Barnes plant, which was really nice. You had the Lone Oak plant, and then you had, Marlin, which we ended up getting, Remington Firearms, and then there's like ancillary companies. That Bushmaster, we had no interest in that. But we started looking at AAC suppressors, H&R. Like, I'm a huge H&R fan. Then I have a transferable H&R M16A1. We have a transferable H&R M14, which is it's X95, which X stands for experimental. Is one of the original M14s that they did, and we owned a good portion of H&R heritage history at our company, and I remember thinking, like, I've seen these H&R M16s in the military. How cool would it be to get H&R and make M1 Garands, M14s, and M16, like vintage M16s? So we wanted H&R for sure. AAC suppressors we wanted. We have that operating, and we bought Storm Lake Barrel. We haven't really done anything with that, and then of course DPMS. And it was just, we had this breakup fee, which ended up being like a credit. And so it was, several $1 million, and they just came in and like, okay, who wants these? And we just, what can we use that credit towards? And so we did, and we ended up with a couple million left over afterwards. But we looked at it and we're like, because we really wanted the ammo plant and make, lemonade out of lemons. So we got these other companies with that money, essentially was free.
Yep. No, that's good. That's great. At JJE, we're now branching off to things that are not just firearms, right? So we got Caliber Coffee now, and we got Right to Bear, right? Shameless plug. So what is the thought process of why we are trying to branch out into things that are not just firearm related? Like, talk me through why we decided that we were going to go down this path and having a self-defense protection and a coffee company.
What we want to do is we want to offer financial products, like, in an age of woke corporations telling you how to act and think and what to say and what to do. We want to offer non-firearms companies that don't tell you how to act and think, and don't tell you, if you don't believe in this weird tenets of liberalism, you're not an American. So we have a lot bigger plans. A lot of these are start of bigger plans. We have consumer products division, which is in its infancy. It's where Caliber Coffee is part of it. And so what we want to do is, buying a firearm in itself, brings freedom, right? However, you have profits from that. And we've decided to invest a good portion of that back into conserving freedom. And, First Amendment, Second Amendment. But then when you buy a candy bar, that profits from that can be used to essentially subvert our freedom in the country, or it can be used to preserve freedom. And so we want to offer those products, financial products, consumer products, in a company where if you buy it, the profits that come off of it are used to support the traditional values and traditional freedoms of America.
Yeah. Mr. Real Estate, Julian, Why is it so important for us to have a big retail presence, to give that customer experience of feeling what a PSA product is, and what is so important about what we're trying to achieve on the retail front?
Several different reasons. One, when you have an ammo plant, your ammo plant is like an oil refinery, and your retail stores are like gas stations to move your product. Our retail locations are actually co-located relatively closely to our manufacturing facilities. So it gets you brand name, loyalty. It also gets you employees who believe in what you do. So if you look at where our retail stores are, an overwhelming majority of them have manufacturing plants within 20 minutes. So we can use it as a recruiting tool to get good people, and the people are the core of our business. And it gets brand loyalty. Every employee that works at PSA gets an employee discount at PSA, which is payday is one of our best sales days.
Every other Friday.
Because our employees are some of our best customers, which we would totally support.
Yeah.
And it creates more of a brand that people come in. I think when people come to South Carolina, I have friends who live all over the country, and they'll send me PSA stickers all over the place. And I have people who will call me and said, I'm coming and I'm going to do 4 stores in South Carolina, and they'll basically do a trip. And
It's like a little tour of all the stores coming down the coast.
I've seen people post online, it's like a Mecca journey.
Yeah, they're coming down 95, they're going to beeline
They
all
go to
over.
like Charleston, Somerville, and
And
Richmond.
they'll
or
get
something.
a PSA Columbia shirt, PSA Savannah shirt.
Yeah.
And it's like the old Hard Rock Cafe experience. I used to have a Hard Rock Cafe shirt from every place I could possibly go.
With the Harley Davidson stuff.
Oh, Harley.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting, like, as a gun nut, I mean, I love to look at guns and hold guns. And when you go to our stores, they're not just PSA. We have like everybody's stuff. And the thing is, when you look at, say, like the big box gun stores, they're really there to sell you beef jerky and a T-shirt and a hat, right? Well, ours, when you go in there, there's like a very small gun section and then everything else. Ours are really big gun section and then everything else. And so it's a really cool experience. We're trying to make sure that there's a sort of big boxy type gun store that really supports your freedom and create, we try and have a range in every one, except for the Charleston because it's prohibited due to the local laws. And we carry everything. Yep. And the thing is, we love PSA products, but we're gun nuts and we love everyone's product. We have HK, we have Ruger, Glock, pretty much all of it. And we're trying to make sure, because sometimes you go in some cities, they have mom and pop gun shops, which are fantastic, but you can't always get the selection. Or you see something on our website and you want to look at it and we try and you can't have the whole website in the store, but we just want to further the hobby. And the thing that's so interesting, we had one of the liberal news networks come out and they wanted to shoot an episode because it was a Democrat primary in South Carolina. And we told them, okay, you can do it at the store, but you got to shoot the gun first. You got to go on the range and shoot a gun. And they went and shot, and it was actually pretty cool. Like, it's not that scary. And you have the opportunity to have people come out and shoot. And the thing is, unless you get involved, it's like the scary thing because you see, Die Hard and all these movies. And it's not scary. It's actually a lot of fun. And I feel like we've been able to explain who we are and what we stand for in a way that has brought a lot of people into the hobby.
Yeah, and I think having the range at the retail stores is a big part of that, because like Wednesday we have ladies' night, right? Like they come out and like there's people there that are trained. They know how to work with people. They can test guns. They don't have to have a gun to shoot on the range.
We went to the Fernandina range, which is our first big range. Originally was our first range, but it was kind of like an off the beaten path acquisition because the guy who owned it was passing away. And it was pretty far from the headquarters, but Fernandina was our first big range. Our corporate headquarters are right there, and so ladies would shoot free on Wednesday, and I would come and, just go over to the store for a little bit, and like the women were there, and they'd show you the gun, and I was like, let me see what you got, and they'd show you the gun, and it was like really cool. Like a ton of women have gotten into shooting, and some of them would brag about it, and it was just really cool to see Wednesdays, especially on the range, seeing the women get involved. And Deborah, who obviously my wife, she's huge in trying to get women into the shooting sports. And I feel like the stores have done a ton to get people into the hobby that otherwise wouldn't have been.
Our most recent store, which we opened a couple months back, was the Florence, South Carolina location right off of 95. And for instance, with that store coming with the range, we'll have a Marine Corps League night. And awesome. Just getting community involvement, getting people to buy in. I believe that we're a community asset where shooting is a perishable skill, and you want the good guys to be able to shoot. And that's something that I've always valued. And it's something that we can bring to the community. Yep. And I've opened up stores in jurisdictions which aren't exactly favorable, but after talking and explaining, I said, hey, bad guys don't come do this. This is the good guys who come and train. I said, you will have more police presence here because they're some of our best customers. Yeah. And than you've ever seen before. For sure. And usually after the fact, the people who were against us, after seeing what we're doing and how we run and how professional an operation we run, you really buy in, like, that's a legit operation.
Yeah, that's a good point. The other thing is when it's slow, the nice thing about the ranges is people will still come in, right? Yeah. And I get it, during the Trump slump and during, slow summers, people might not want to buy a gun. They'll probably spend their money on vacations or whatever. But at least you can get them in the store. They can shoot a little bit, recreationally hang out. To me, it just keeps the hobby alive and front and center.
It's the ultimate customer experience.
Right.
Yeah. And if you come here to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to play one of our 100 golf courses, and it rains and we have one of our
crazy
Saturday
hot.
afternoon, if it's 104, or you have a lightning storm, you can go to the shooting range and experience the weapons of World War II. It gives you a totally different experience.
All kinds of machine guns from MP7s, MP5s, whatever you want. And the cool thing is so many people from like Canada come to Myrtle Beach. They too can experience a little bit of American freedom.
Yeah, anyone can come try freedom.
Right,
come get a taste of South Carolina freedom down here, right?
Join us next week for episode 3, where we take a look at the manufacturing capabilities of JJE and Palmetto State Armory.
We're here at Special Tool Solutions. Here we are, we're at Ferris Engineering and Tool. Here we are at DC Machine. We're here at Spartan Forge at JJE Company.